The night was quiet, too quiet. The stars were shining above the dark forest, and the wind was still. Rayan sat near his small campfire, alone, listening to the sounds of nature. He was tired after a long hike, but something in the air felt different. Tonight, he took a sip of water and leaned back against a tree, trying to relax. Suddenly, a loud sound broke the silence. It was not thunder, not a plane, but something fast, heavy, falling. The sky flashed blue for a second, and a strange object shot across the sky. It disappeared behind the trees, followed by a shaking boom. Rayan stood up quickly, eyes wide. What the hell was that? He whispered to himself. He grabbed his flashlight and moved through the forest, heart beating fast. Leaves rustled under his boots as he walked towards the crash site. He didn't know what he would find. Maybe a meteor. Maybe a satellite. But what he saw next changed his life forever. In a small clearing, smoke rose from a strange silver object. It wasn't made of metal like any ship he'd seen in movies. It looked almost alive, glowing softly, breathing. Like a sleeping animal, one side of it was broken, cracked open like an egg. Rayan stepped closer, feeling a strange heat in the air. Then, he heard a soft sound like a cry. Someone, or something, was inside. He moved carefully, and when he looked inside, he froze. Lying there was a girl, not human, but not a monster either. Her skin was silver blue, glowing in the dark. She had long white hair and strange markings on her arms. Blood was dripping from her side, but it wasn't red. It was a deep purple, almost shining. Her eyes were closed, and she was barely breathing. Rayan felt fear, but also something else, concern. She looked hurt, scared, and helpless. Without thinking, he climbed into the wreckage and touched her shoulder. "Hey," he whispered. "Are you okay?" No answer. He looked around for something to help. Her body was warm, too warm, like fire under the skin. She needed help, fast. Then he saw the blood. It was pooling beside her. He didn't know what to do, but he had first aid in his bag. Rayan tried to lift her a little, to stop the bleeding. As he touched her arm, some of the blood touched his skin. A sharp sting hit his hand, and suddenly he felt dizzy, his vision blurred. And before he could step back, a drop of her blood reached his lips. It tasted strange, sweet and cold, like ice and fire together. Then everything changed. His heart started racing, faster than ever. His head filled with noise. Voices, memories, not his own. He saw stars, planets, faces he didn't recognize. He dropped to the ground, shaking, gasping for air. "What's happening to me?" he cried, holding his chest. Blue light ran through his veins, glowing under his skin. Then a scream, loud and sharp. He looked up. The girl was awake, eyes wide in terror. She tried to move but winced in pain. She pointed at him with weak hands, her voice shaking. "That's my blood, human," she shouted. "Stop drinking." Rayan tried to speak, but his mouth felt numb. "I didn't mean to," he said. "I didn't know." But it was too late. The connection had already started. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something passed between them. Fear, pain, memory, emotion. It was like they were linked, mind to mind. Rayan collapsed beside the ship, unconscious. The girl stared at him with confusion and fear. She whispered something in a language not of Earth. Then she closed her eyes again, her hand resting gently on his. In the middle of the forest, the night was silent once more, but above them, in the sky, something moved, a dark shape hidden among the clouds, watching, waiting. The crash was not just an accident. It was the beginning of something bigger. And the blood Rayan had tasted was not just alien. It was a key to powers he could not understand, a key to a war he didn't know existed. And now, he was part of it, whether he liked it or not. The sun had not yet risen, but the sky was turning a pale gray. The forest was silent, not the peaceful kind, but the kind just before a storm. Rayan's eyes opened slowly, and his vision was full of strange colors. Shapes floated around him like smoke, and every sound felt louder than it should. His heartbeat echoed in his ears. Steady but strong, too strong. He sat up fast, breathing hard, and looked around. The crashed ship was still there, the strange smoke now gone, and the girl, the alien, was sitting against a rock, watching him with cold, sharp eyes. "You're awake," she said, her voice tired but firm. Rayan blinked, trying to speak, but his throat felt dry. "What happened to me?" he whispered. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood up slowly, placing her hand on her side, where the blood had come from. The wound was almost closed now. Rayan stared at it in disbelief. "You should be dead," she said quietly. "No human should survive what you just did." "I didn't mean to drink it," he said, confused and shaking. "I just touched it, and then your body absorbed it," she interrupted. "Your cells adapted." Rayan looked down at his hands. The veins under his skin were still glowing faint blue. They pulsed gently with every beat of his heart. "I feel different," he said. "Like I can hear things." She nodded, her expression unreadable. "You're hearing thoughts," she said. "Not just mine, but the echoes left in my blood. That's why it's forbidden. Even among my kind, no one is allowed to share blood." Rayan stood up, stumbling. He leaned against a tree and tried to breathe. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "I didn't want any of this." Her gaze softened for a second. "I know," she said, "but now you have it and you can't give it back." Suddenly, a loud sound echoed through the forest. A sharp, clicking noise. Alira's head snapped toward the trees, her eyes going dark with fear. "They've found us," she whispered. She ran toward the broken ship, pulled something from inside, a small metallic device glowing with light. "We need to move," she said. "Now." "Who found us?" Rayan asked, following her. "Hunters," she said. "They were sent to bring me back, but now that you've tasted my blood, they'll want you too." They ran deeper into the woods. Branches whipped against their arms. Leaves crunched beneath their feet. Behind them, mechanical sounds grew louder, not footsteps, something heavier, something unnatural. "They won't kill you quickly," she said as they ran. "They'll study you, break you, use you to make more like you." "What am I becoming?" Rayan asked. "Am I still human?" "I don't know," she said honestly. "But your blood is no longer pure. You're something new, something they'll fear." They reached a narrow stream, and Alira stopped, placing her hand on a small stone. The stone flashed, and suddenly, a holographic map appeared in the air. Rayan stared at it, amazed. "This world is full of blind technology," she said. "Your people can't even see half of what's around them." The map showed a hidden tunnel, maybe old or forgotten. "We go through here," she said. "It leads under the forest." As they entered the tunnel, darkness wrapped around them. But Rayan could still see, not with his eyes, but with something else. Shapes moved in his mind, glowing lines guiding him forward. "You're seeing energy now," Alira whispered. "Watching him closely. My blood opened parts of your brain that were sleeping. It's dangerous, but also powerful." They walked for what felt like an hour, and Rayan asked the question he had been holding. "Why were they chasing you?" Alira didn't answer at first. Then, in a soft voice, she said, "My people wanted to use me as a weapon. My blood carries the memories of warriors before me, centuries of training and battle. They thought they could harvest it, clone it, turn it into something they control." "So you escaped," Rayan said. She nodded. "And now I've given that blood to you," she said, without meaning. 2. Suddenly the tunnel shook. A loud crash echoed behind them. The hunters had found the entrance. Alira pulled Rayan behind a wall. A small flying machine hovered into view, scanning the darkness with red lights. "Stay still," she whispered. The machine paused near them, then moved on. But just before it left, Rayan's hand twitched, and the machine stopped. He looked at it, confused, and the machine turned, scanning him directly. "You triggered it," Alira said. "Your blood," it called to the machine. Suddenly, the red lights turned blue and the machine spoke. Identity recognized. Hybrid confirmed, following new orders. What? What did I just do? Rayan asked. You changed the machine's command path, she said, stunned. They'll see that. They'll know you're not just a mistake. More machines. We're coming, and fast. Alira grabbed his hand, her voice serious. You're not ready for this fight, she said. But they won't wait. The tunnel exit appeared ahead, a hole leading to the edge of the mountains. As they stepped out, the wind hit their faces, and the sky had turned blood orange. Rayan felt the change inside him growing. He turned to Alira and said, This thing inside me, this power, can I control it? I don't know, she answered. But if you can't, it will control you. Behind them, the machine screamed through the tunnel. In front of them, the open sky, the unknown, the next battle. Rayan looked at his glowing hands, then back at her. Let's run, he said, before I forget who I really am. They vanished into the hills, but the world had already started to shift, and in the distance, someone or something was watching through another set of glowing eyes. The game had just begun. The air was colder now, thin and sharp as it passed over the mountain ridge. Clouds covered the sun like a heavy curtain, and shadows danced across the rocks. Rayan and Alira moved quickly, their steps careful, their breathing quiet. They were no longer running just to escape. They were running to survive. Behind them, deep in the forest, they had left a trail. Not one of broken branches or footprints, but one of energy. Rayan's blood now carried a signal, and the hunters were locked onto it like wolves. Don't stop moving, Alira whispered, her eyes scanning the sky. They're not far now. Rayan didn't ask how she knew. He could feel it too. A strange pressure in the back of his mind, like something was watching, listening, breathing right behind him. But every time he turned, nothing was there. They crossed a narrow cliffside path, stone crumbling beneath their feet. Far below, trees looked like ants, and the wind howled like a ghost. This path leads to an old mining station, Alira said. No one's used it in years. Even my people don't scan this area. It's considered cursed. Cursed? Rayan asked. Why? Alira didn't answer, just kept walking faster. The truth was simple. The place had seen blood. Her kind didn't fear monsters, they feared memories. Suddenly, a sharp screech tore through the sky. Rayan dropped low by instinct. Above, a black shape zipped past, winged, fast, and silent before it screamed. Then another followed. Then two more. They're here, Alira said, pulling out the glowing device again. But it didn't respond this time. Instead, it cracked. A sharp electric pulse flashed and went dark. No tech interference, she muttered. They've launched suppression waves. They're cutting us off. Then came the real sound, not flying machines, but boots, heavy, robotic, moving in rhythm through the forest path below. The hunters had arrived, not just machines, but armored figures, tall, thin, with no faces, only glowing eyes and breathing masks. They didn't speak, didn't pause. They were built to track, capture, and kill. Rayan crouched behind a rock, breathing through his teeth. Why me? He whispered. Why are they after me now, not just you? Because you're worse than me now, Alira said coldly. You're unpredictable. They don't know what you are, and that makes you dangerous. Just then, one of the hunters tilted its head like it heard him speak. Rayan closed his eyes, focusing. His heart beat once, then again, louder, and something snapped in his mind. He opened his eyes. The world looked different. He wasn't just seeing light, he was seeing life. The hunters were lit up like red ghosts, each one pulsing with energy, and for a brief moment, he saw something inside them. Memories, fear, pain, not machines. They were alive. I can see through them, he whispered. Alira looked at him sharply. That's not normal, she said. Not even for my kind. But it was already too late. The nearest hunter turned, raised a long weapon, and fired. A beam of red light hit the stone near Rayan, blasting it apart. Dust flew into the air, and the chase began. Rayan and Alira ran through the old mining ruins. Jumping over rusted rails and broken pipes, the hunters followed in perfect rhythm. Firing in silence, but this time, Rayan didn't just run, he turned. Raised his hand, and the weapon in the hunter's grip exploded. No touch, no tool, just thought. The blast knocked the hunter back, its mask cracking open, inside, a pale face, human-like, eyes wide in fear before the mask reformed. "They're not robots," Rayan said, shocked. "They used to be like me." Alira nodded, voice low. "They're prisoners of the blood," she said. "Test subjects, failed ones. They weren't killed, they were rewritten." Rayan's anger burned. How many did they destroy for this? How many people? Before she could answer, another blast shook the ground. The ruins were collapsing, and the hunters were closing in. "We have to separate," Alira said. "No," Rayan snapped. "We stay together." She looked at him, not as an alien now, but as a partner. "You're changing," she said softly. "And the more you use your power, the less human you'll stay." "Then let's hope I was never too human to begin with," he replied. They found a broken elevator shaft and climbed down, landing in a forgotten underground station. The walls were covered in old alien writing, faded and cracked. Rayan touched one of the marks, and for a second, heard a voice. "Welcome back, prototype," it whispered. He pulled his hand away fast, breath shaking. "They knew I'd come," he said. "This place was built for someone like me. They built it for war," Alira said. "And you might be their last weapon." A soft blue light flickered from the wall. It wasn't broken. It was waiting. Rayan stepped toward it, and the wall opened. Inside, a glowing chamber filled with floating crystals, each one humming softly. "This is memory tech," Alira whispered. "It stores thoughts, feelings, skills." Rayan stepped inside, and the crystals swarmed him. One by one, they touched his skin, and visions filled his head. He saw battles on other planets, languages he had never heard but now understood, weapons he could now build, and names he could not forget. Behind him, Alira spoke slowly. "They didn't just want blood," she said. "They wanted a god in human form." Rayan turned, his eyes glowing now, brighter than before. "I'm not their god," he said. "I'm their mistake." Above them, the hunters paused, for the first time. They didn't move, they had felt it too. The change had begun. Asterisk, the silence inside the memory chamber was deep. It wasn't empty, it was heavy. Like the air itself remembered things it couldn't say. Blue crystals hovered around Rayan, pulsing with light, as if reacting to his presence. Each one held echoes of lives once lived, but now they were whispering to him. Alira stood just outside the door, afraid to enter. This was not her technology, not fully. It was older, wilder, forgotten, even by those who built it. Rayan turned slowly, his face pale and glowing. His eyes had changed again, not just in color, but in feeling. They no longer looked surprised. They looked knowing. "I saw it," he said quietly. "I saw how it started." Alira stepped forward. Slowly. "What did you see?" she asked. Rayan pointed to one of the floating crystals. "It showed me the first war," he said. "Before your kind had ships, before your empire. There were beings made of light and thought. They lived through memory, not flesh. Your people found them, and took what they had." Alira looked away, ashamed. "I was raised to believe we earned our power," she said. "That our blood was sacred. It was stolen," Rayan replied. "Taken by force. The blood you carry. The blood I drank. It's not just DNA. It's history." Alira walked into the chamber now, slowly. "We don't talk about the first ones," she said. "Even among elders, it's forbidden. Because you turned their memories into weapons," Rayan said. "You didn't just share thoughts, you forced them into soldiers. That's what these hunters are, not machines, but people twisted by stolen memory." Alira didn't argue, she couldn't. She had seen the same thing in her dreams, but never dared to speak it. "You saw them too," Rayan said, "didn't you? Their eyes before the mask. Still. Human, still afraid." "Yes," she whispered, "and every time I closed my eyes I heard their screams. That's why I ran. I was next." The chamber began to glow brighter. One of the crystals floated toward Rayan's chest, then sank into his skin. No pain, just a rush. Like wind behind the eyes, he dropped to his knees, gasping. He saw a boy, no older than 15, injected with a drop of glowing blue. He screamed, changed, lost his voice, became something else then. Silence, memory faded. Rayan looked up, hands shaking. They were testing it on children. They wanted to find the perfect host. Alira touched his shoulder. "You're the first one to survive the bond fully," she said. "Not break. Not lose control. Maybe not for long," Rayan muttered. "Every time I touch the blood, I lose something. My voice, my sleep, my past. Do you know what it feels like to forget your own name for a second?" Alira sat beside him. "I know," she said. "That's why I kept running." Then the wall behind them opened again. Not by touch, but on its own. A voice echoed. "Smooth and ancient. Blood carrier, your presence is confirmed. Accessing restricted archive." A platform rose from the floor, displaying a hologram. Alira gasped. She recognized the face. It was the empress of her people. The one who ruled the bloodline. "This message is for all potential hybrids." The hologram spoke. "If you are watching this, then one of two things has happened. Either you were chosen, or you were accidental. But either way, you are dangerous." Rayan stepped back. But the hologram followed. "You carry more than memory," it said. "You carry the key to the forge." "The forge," Alira whispered. "That's a myth. A weapon so powerful, it can rewrite reality." Rayan's voice was quiet. "Or rewrite a species." Suddenly, alarms began to sound above. The hunters had breached the upper levels. Alira stood, readying herself. "We can't let them take you," she said. "If they get the forge key, everything ends." Rayan closed his eyes, trying to breathe. The blood inside him was hot now, calling out, not to him, but to something else. He heard it like thunder in his head. "We are not dead. We are waiting. Open the door." He turned to Alira, eyes glowing blue and white. "The first ones aren't gone," he said. "They're still inside the blood. They were never memories. They're alive." Alira froze. "You mean they're using us?" "No," Rayan said slowly. "They're trapped, and I think they want out." Another explosion above shook the chamber, dust falling from the ceiling. Rayan looked up. "We need to leave this place," he said. "But we need to take this knowledge with us." Alira looked at him, unsure whether to trust the power growing in him. "You're changing too fast," she said. "You might not be you tomorrow." Rayan gave a half smile, tired but certain. "Then I better fix things today, together." They ran toward the exit tunnel behind the chamber, but behind them, one of the crystals began to crack. A shape inside moved, something ancient. Watching, waiting, as they disappeared into the shadows, a voice whispered in a forgotten language. "The key has awakened. The forge will open, and the war will begin again." Darkness moved like smoke around them. Rayan and Alira ran through the narrow tunnel, leaving the blood chamber behind. Each step echoed like a heartbeat, louder, faster, heavier. Something inside Rayan was changing again, not slowly, not gently, but like fire spreading through paper. The blood was no longer silent, it was awake, and it was speaking to him. "Do not resist," it whispered. "Become." His hands trembled. But not from fear. His skin shimmered between human and something else, metallic, glowing, alive. He clenched his fists and kept moving. He didn't tell Alira how much he was struggling. He didn't have to. She could see it in his eyes. They reached an old lift at the end of the tunnel, rusted but still working. Alira scanned it with a small shard from the crystal chamber, and it powered up. "Where does this go?" Rayan asked, voice rough. Surface access. Old evac route, she replied. But we won't be alone up there. The lift groaned as it rose. Rayan looked at the ceiling, then closed his eyes. Images rushed through his mind. Not memories, not dreams, visions, worlds that didn't exist. Creatures that had no name, and a voice louder than thought. You are the echo of extinction, it said, and the seed of rebirth. He fell to his knees, sweating. Alira grabbed his arm. Stay with me, she said. Don't let the blood take control. I'm trying, Rayan whispered. But it's not just talking anymore. It's showing me things. Like what? She asked. He looked at her, eyes glowing brighter than ever. Like what I could become if I let go. The lift stopped. The doors opening to a ruined outpost on the side of a snowy mountain. The wind hit. Hard, cold, and sharp. The place was broken, forgotten, once a station, now just bones of metal and glass. And they were not alone. 3 hunters stood waiting, masks shining in the fading light. They didn't speak. They just moved, like death with direction. Alira stepped forward, holding her weapon. Rayan raised his hands, unsure if he was going to fight, surrender, or explode. One of the hunters tilted its head. Then it said something no one expected. Welcome back, Prototype 0. Alira froze. Rayan blinked, confused. What did it call me? He asked. The hunter stepped closer. You are not an accident, it said. You were planned. Rayan laughed, but it wasn't joy. Planned by who? He asked. I was just a guy in the woods. Your bloodline was marked long ago, the hunter replied. You are the first human to fully activate the legacy code. Alira's face went pale. The forge didn't need a host, she whispered. It needed a descendant. Rayan felt cold, but not from the snow. He stepped forward slowly. Is that what I am now? He said. A code. A carrier. A lab rat. You are the bridge, the hunter said, between memory and matter. Rayan stared at them, then raised his hand again. This time, he didn't flinch. He felt the blood rise, flow, burn, and he let it. A wave of energy exploded from his palm. Not fire, not light, but something like gravity. It pushed all 3 hunters backward, slamming them into the snow. Their armor cracked, masks shattered. And for a moment, they didn't move, Rayan gasped, falling to one knee. His body wasn't tired, but his mind was shaking. He looked at his hands. The veins no longer blue. They were now white, glowing like stars. Alira ran to him, kneeling. That wasn't memory use, she said. That was raw creation. You didn't just move them. You rewrote their paths. Rayan nodded slowly. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought it, and it happened. That's what the forge is, Alira said. It doesn't make weapons. It makes reality obey your thought. Rayan looked toward the hunters, still frozen. If I can do that, then I can change this war, or end it before it starts, she said quietly. Suddenly, one of the hunters began to move again, but not toward them. It took off its mask, revealing a young woman's face, scarred and pale. I remember now, she said, voice shaking. I was from Earth. I was 17. Alira gasped. She broke free. Rayan walked to her, knelt down. What's your name? He asked gently. Lena, she whispered. I thought I was gone forever. You were trapped in blood that wasn't yours, he said. I know. The feeling. She looked at him with wide eyes. You're the key, she said. The others will come for you, not to kill, but to consume. They want what's inside you. Rayan stood up slowly, snow swirling around him. Then, let them come, he said. I'm not afraid anymore. Alira joined him, her voice firm. Let them come, but this time, we fight on our terms. Far above, in orbit, a silent ship turned toward Earth. Inside, more hybrids, failed, broken, hungry, stared down at the planet. The key had awakened. The forge had pulsed. The war hadn't just returned, it had chosen its champion. Asterisk, the wind had calmed. Snow no longer fell. But the silence in the air was heavier than ever. Rayan stood at the edge of the mountain base, staring at the world below. Forests, rivers, and cities stretched out like a sleeping map, so normal, so peaceful, and yet, somewhere out there, death was watching him. Alira stood behind him, quiet. She had been for hours, since Lena the freed hunter had been taken to safety. The air between them had changed. Rayan could feel it, a cold space. A question she wasn't asking. He turned around slowly. "You're not telling me something," he said, voice calm but sharp. She didn't deny it. She looked away. "I received a transmission," she said. 3 hours ago." Rayan's chest tightened. "From who?" "From the core ship." She answered, "My people. They're alive," he said. "After all this." Alira nodded. "They found me through the bloodline beacon." She said, "They know I'm still carrying it. And they know I'm with you." Rayan said. Alira paused. "They've sent a rescue pod," she said. "They said they'll take me home." Rayan's voice dropped. "What do they want?" "From me." Alira finally looked at him. "They want me to bring you with me," she said, "but not as a passenger. They want to contain you." He laughed once, bitter and hollow. "Of course they do." "I haven't said yes," she said quickly. "I told them I need time." Rayan stepped back. "So what now?" he said. "You're deciding whether I'm your friend or your mission." "It's not like that," Alira said. "You don't understand what's at stake." "I understand just fine," he snapped. "You were meant to carry the blood, pass it on, protect the forge. And now that I have it, I'm either a prize or a threat." "I never saw you that way," she said, stepping closer. "I ran from all of that, remember? I broke the code. I rejected the plan." "Then why are you still in contact with them?" Rayan asked. She looked down at her hands. "I thought I could fix it," she said. "Maybe I believed if I brought you in willingly, they wouldn't hurt you." Rayan stared at her. "That's not your choice," he said. "I trusted you." A long pause followed. Wind whistled through the broken window frames. And then, soft footsteps echoed behind them. Lena entered, holding a small glowing device. "I intercepted part of the transmission," she said. "Alira didn't tell you the full message." Alira's eyes widened. "Lena, stop." But it was too late. The device played the voice of the Empress, sharp and cold. "The hybrid has accessed Phase 2. If he resists, terminate him and extract the blood core. Do not return without the key." Silence returned, heavier than before. Rayan didn't speak. He just turned and walked out. Alira ran after him. "I didn't agree to that," she said. "I swear I didn't." "But you didn't stop them either," he said quietly. "You gave them the chance." He stopped by the edge again. Below, a ship was coming. Sleek, black, fast, the rescue pod, or maybe the prison. "You could leave now," Rayan said. "Go back to your world, forget Earth. They'd welcome you, maybe even reward you." "I don't want a reward," Alira said, her voice cracking. "I want to fix this, Rayan. I want to stand beside you, not above you." "Then prove it," he said. "Right now." She looked at him, confused. "Destroy the ship," he said. "Call it off." She hesitated. "That's treason." "This is trust," he said. "If you want to walk beside me, burn the path behind you." Alira looked at her communicator, her fingers shaking. Then, without another word, she crushed it under her boot. Sparks flew, and the connection died. The ship in the sky turned, confused, searching. Then it disappeared. Back into the clouds, gone. Rayan blinked slowly. "You really did it." "I made my choice," she said, stepping beside him. "I choose you." In that moment, something shifted in the air. The clouds cracked open, not from storm, but from force. A signal pulsed from Rayan's body, bright, invisible, unstoppable. Every hidden blood-forged machine in the world turned toward that signal. Every hybrid, every hunter, every loyalist of the blood felt it. Rayan had been betrayed, but he had chosen to forgive. And that choice had unlocked something deeper than power. Not control, not war, but bond. Not just with Alira, But with the ancient voices trapped in the blood, they spoke now, not in warnings, not in commands, but in a single word, ready. Rayan turned to Alira. If they're coming for me, he said, then we're going to meet them halfway. She smiled, tired but strong. No more running, she said. No. Rayan replied, now we rise, and above them, the sky cracked open again. This time, something began to fall, not a ship, not a hunter, but something bigger, older, and far more dangerous, something that had been waiting. The sky had changed. It didn't just hold clouds anymore. It held a crack, a fracture in the sky itself, glowing with white fire. Something massive was coming through, not a ship, not a fleet, something ancient. Rayan stood at the edge of the frozen cliff, staring up at the opening above. His blood pulsed louder than ever. It was no longer just power, it was a signal. A beacon that had awakened something buried in time. Beside him, Alira watched in silence, her heart heavy. She knew what this was. The forge hadn't just been a tool, it was a gate, and Rayan had opened it. The war has already started, he said, voice low. It started the moment I tasted your blood, Alira nodded. They were waiting for you, she said, for someone strong enough to finish what they began, above them. The crack in the sky widened, and through it came a shape, floating, slow, terrible, a creature made of bone and light. It had no face but thousands of voices, not spoken, but felt, a blood-forged being, built from centuries of stolen minds. Rayan stepped forward. The wind around him twisted, not away from him, but toward him. He was no longer human, not fully, but he was something more, a memory given flesh, a mistake that refused to be erased. I can feel them inside me, he said, all the lives your people stole, the ones trapped in this blood. They're not weapons, they're screaming. Alira placed a hand on his arm. You don't have to carry them alone. I'm not, he said. I'm giving them a voice. The creature roared, but the sound didn't come from its mouth. It came from inside Rayan's skull, a pain so sharp it felt like his brain was splitting. But he didn't fall. He stood taller, eyes glowing white and blue, and then he answered. His voice didn't come from his mouth either. It came from his blood. A wave of energy blasted from him, cutting through the snow, the sky, and the beast above. The air cracked like glass. The creature staggered. Behind it, more shapes appeared, smaller, faster, twisted hybrids sent to finish what the creature started. They descended toward Earth like falling blades. War had arrived. Alira raised her weapon, ready to fight. But Rayan lifted a hand. No, he said. This isn't a battle of weapons. It's a battle of will. He stepped into the center of the field, arms out. The ground shook, all around him. Energy rose like ghosts waking from the dirt. Memories of lost warriors, stolen thoughts. Broken minds, all gathering. They didn't want revenge. They wanted release. I hear you, Rayan whispered. And I set you free. His body lit up like a star. The blood inside him turned white-hot. Every voice he carried lifted into the sky. Not screaming now, but singing. The hybrids paused mid-air. Confused, the beast above froze, trembling, the bond that once held them. The stolen blood was breaking. One by one, the hybrids dropped their weapons. Some fell, some landed softly. They were waking up, human minds returning, their eyes filling with pain and peace. The beast roared in rage, launching itself toward Rayan. But Rayan didn't run. He stood calm. He had one last message to deliver. You are not gods, he said. You are not evolution. You are just memory. Out of time. The moment the creature touched him, everything stopped for one heartbeat. There was no sound, no light, just stillness. Then, an explosion of energy that shook the sky. The creature shattered, not into pieces, but into light. It rose upward, disappearing into the sky crack, gone, and with it the war ended. Rayan fell to his knees, breathing hard. Alira rushed to him, catching him before he hit the ground. It's over, she said. You did it. No, Rayan whispered, "We did. You believed in me. Even when I didn't." All around them, the land was quiet. The hybrids walked free, some crying, some confused, but alive. The blood inside Rayan no longer glowed. It was quiet, at peace. "You're human again," Alira said, "not fully." He smiled, but enough. Above them, the sky healed, the crack sealed. The war that never should have happened had ended with a choice. Not a weapon. Rayan stood, holding Alira's hand. "What now?" she asked. "We build," he said. "Not machines, not empires, just life." And together, they walked forward, not as soldier and weapon, not as human and alien, but as two who chose peace over power. And far away, where no stars shone, something watched and turned away. The blood had spoken, and it had chosen its final form. Not destruction, but hope.